Imagine waking up each morning carrying a heavy sack on your back. At first, it might feel manageable, but as the day wears on, the weight presses down relentlessly. You try to ignore it, but it slows your steps and tires your muscles. It distracts you from the beauty of the morning sun or the gentle breeze. The burden grows heavier with each passing hour. This heavy sack is resentment. It is the weight we carry when we hold on to anger, pain, or bitterness caused by others. It's an invisible load, but it drains our energy, clouds our mind, and darkens our heart. In Buddhism, resentment is recognized as one of the greatest obstacles to peace and happiness. It binds us in suffering, chaining us to the past, and preventing us from fully embracing the present moment. The Buddha captured this truth vividly when he said, "Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned." Think about that image for a moment. How often have you clung to anger, hoping it would somehow hurt the person who wronged you, only to find that it hurts you more? Like the searing heat of the coal, resentment scorches our minds, disrupts our peace, and ultimately harms our own well-being. Why then do we hold on? Why do we let anger and resentment take root in our hearts? Often, it is because these feelings feel justified. When someone betrays us, hurts us, or fails us, anger can seem like a natural, even necessary response. It can feel like a way to protect ourselves or to demand justice. But Buddhism offers a profound alternative: forgiveness. Not the kind that asks us to forget or excuse wrongs, but a deeper, radical release of the burden of hatred and bitterness. Forgiveness in Buddhism is less about the other person and more about freeing ourselves. Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It is the key that unlocks the prison of resentment and opens the door to inner freedom. When we forgive, we stop feeding the fire of anger inside. We begin to heal the wounds that pain left behind, and we reclaim our peace. This path to forgiveness is not easy. It requires courage to face our pain, to look honestly at our emotions, and to choose love over hate. It demands patience, for the process unfolds gradually, often through many small steps rather than one grand gesture. And it calls for compassion for others, and crucially, for ourselves. In Buddhism, forgiveness is closely tied to mindfulness, the practice of being fully present with our feelings without judgment. When we bring awareness to resentment, we see it more clearly. We recognize how it affects us, how it limits us. With mindfulness, we create space between the emotion and our reaction. This space gives us the choice to let go. Forgiveness is also connected to the teaching of impermanence, that all things change, including people and situations. When we grasp this truth deeply, we realize that holding on to resentment is holding on to something that is by nature fleeting and insubstantial. Resentment loses its grip when we understand it as a passing cloud rather than a permanent storm. The Buddha taught that clinging to anger is one of the causes of suffering, and that freedom from suffering comes through letting go. Forgiveness is a practical way to embody this teaching. It helps us break the cycle of pain that keeps repeating in our minds and relationships as we begin this journey together. Remember, forgiveness is not about condoning wrongdoing or forgetting what happened. It is about choosing peace over pain. It is about healing the heart so it can love again freely and fully. This journey will invite you to explore stories of transformation, tales of people who faced deep hurt and found ways to forgive. You will hear wisdom from Buddhist teachings that illuminate the path forward, and you will be offered gentle practices to help you release resentment and nurture compassion. Open your heart gently to this process. It is a journey that unfolds in its own time. Some days will feel easier, others more challenging, but each step toward forgiveness brings you closer to the freedom and peace that are your true nature. So, take a deep breath, let go of any expectations, and allow yourself to enter this path with openness, curiosity, and kindness. The burden of resentment can be lifted, your heart can heal, and peace can return. Let's begin. In the ancient lands where the Buddha walked and taught, there was a man named Angulimala, name that means garland of fingers. This name was given to him because he wore a necklace made from the fingers of those he had killed, and was feared far and wide. People spoke of him in hushed tones, warning travelers to stay away from the dark forests where he lurked. Angulimala was once a promising student, but through misunderstandings and manipulation, his heart hardened, and he became a violent bandit. His anger and hatred consumed him, and he took many lives, believing this path was his destiny. He was lost in a cycle of violence, bitterness, and fear, embodying the very weight of resentment and suffering that the Buddha spoke of. One day, as Angulimala was about to strike another victim, he encountered the Buddha himself. The Buddha was calm, radiating peace and compassion, even in the face of danger. Instead of running away or fighting, the Buddha calmly walked toward Angulimala, unafraid and full of loving kindness. Angulimala was shocked. He had never seen anyone approach him without fear or hatred. These words pierced through the violent fog in Angulimala's mind. The Buddha wasn't talking about his physical movement. He was pointing to the deeper truth that he was still trapped in his cycle of anger and pain. Moved by the Buddha's courage and compassion, violent passed. Through the Buddha's teachings and example, Angulimala transformed from a feared killer into a peaceful monk. This story holds a powerful lesson for anyone struggling with resentment, whether as the victim or the one who caused harm. Forgiveness begins with compassion, even for those who hurt us deeply. The Buddha did not condemn anger. Instead, he saw the suffering beneath the violence and offered a way out of the darkness. This compassion is not a sign of weakness, but of immense strength. When we respond to hurt with compassion, we open the door to healing and transformation, not just for the other person, but for ourselves. Angulimala's journey shows us that no one is beyond redemption. Even the deepest wounds, whether inflicted or suffered, can be healed through understanding and release. But the path to freedom lies in compassion for others and for ourselves. It invites us to see that everyone acts from causes and conditions, often unaware of the harm they cause. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or excusing wrongdoing. It means choosing to break the cycle of pain. It means deciding not to let anger control our lives. In that choice lies liberation. As you reflect on Angulimala's story, consider where you might hold anger or resentment. Who do you find hardest to forgive? What might happen if you approached these feelings with compassion and openness? Like the Buddha meeting Angulimala, can you meet your own pain with kindness rather than fear? The journey of forgiveness is a path of transformation. It begins with a single step, a willingness to see with new eyes and a heart open to healing. Angulimala's story is a beacon of hope on this path. It reminds us that even from the darkest places, light can emerge. As we continue this journey together, hold on to this truth. Forgiveness begins not with others, but with compassion. Compassion breaks the chains of resentment and invites the possibility of a new beginning. May Angulimala's story inspire you to open your heart and walk the path of healing. Anger is a powerful and complex emotion. When we are wronged, misunderstood, or hurt, anger can feel like a natural response, a protective shield that springs up to guard us from further pain. But as with many strong emotions, anger carries a hidden danger. When it lingers and hardens into resentment, it becomes a poison that affects not only our minds, but also our bodies. In Buddhist teachings, anger is known as one of the three poisons, alongside greed and ignorance, that lie at the root of suffering. Just as poison slowly harms a living body when ingested, anger slowly corrodes the mind's peace and clarity. It clouds our judgment, fuels negative thoughts, and can even lead to harmful actions that deepen our suffering. Let's take a closer look at how anger and resentment act as poison within us. The poison of anger in the mind and body. When anger takes hold, it triggers a physical and mental reaction. The body releases stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol, preparing us for fight or flight. Our heart rate quickens, muscles tense, and breathing becomes shallow. These responses were evolutionarily helpful in immediate danger, but in modern life, chronic anger causes ongoing stress that harms our health. Studies show that prolonged anger and hostility, digestive issues, and sleep disturbances. The mind, too, becomes trapped in cycles of agitation, rumination, and negativity. Anger reduces our ability to think clearly and respond wisely. The emotional charge of resentment is like carrying a burning ember within us. The more we nurture it, the more it consumes our energy and peace. It prevents us from experiencing joy and connection with others. In Buddhist psychology, clinging to anger is likened to grasping a hot coal, hoping to throw it at someone else only to burn ourselves in the process. The ripple effect of anger doesn't exist in isolation. When we hold on to anger or express it harshly, it impacts those around us: family, friends, co-workers, and even strangers. Relationships suffer, trust erodes, and conflicts escalate. Anger creates a ripple effect that spreads suffering beyond the initial cause. In the context of resentment, this effect is compounded. It feeds on memories of perceived wrongs and injustices, creating a mental narrative that defines our identity as victims or enemies. The mind becomes a battleground where old wounds are reopened repeatedly. This ongoing mental suffering clouds our ability to live fully in the present moment. But Buddhism teaches that true healing comes from understanding and acknowledging anger without being controlled by it. Trying to push anger away often makes it stronger, like trying to hold back waves in the ocean. The Buddha encouraged his followers to cultivate mindfulness, clear, non-judgmental awareness of whatever arises in the mind and body. Mindfulness does not mean ignoring or rejecting anger. Without adding judgment or stories, we create space between the feeling and our reaction. This space allows us to respond wisely rather than impulsively. Mindfulness turns the poison of anger into a teacher, revealing its causes and impermanent nature. How mindfulness transforms. Anger mindfulness involves paying attention to our experience moment by moment with gentle curiosity. When anger arises, mindfulness helps us notice the physical sensations, the tightness in the chest, the heat in the face, the tension in the fists. We observe the thoughts and emotions accompanying the anger without identifying with them. This witnessing stance is powerful. It weakens the grip anger has on us. We begin to see that anger is not who we are. It is a passing mental event. We notice how anger arises in dependence on certain conditions, like hurt feelings. Conditions change. Mindfulness also reveals the habitual patterns that fuel anger, old stories, judgments, or beliefs about ourselves and others. As awareness deepens, we recognize these patterns and can choose not to follow them blindly. The practice of noticing anger without attachment. Let's explore a simple mindfulness practice to work with anger. Find a quiet place and sit comfortably. Take a few deep breaths to settle your body and mind. Bring to mind a recent situation where you felt angry or upset. Notice the details. What happened? How did you feel physically and emotionally? As you recall the anger, observe the sensations in your body. Where do you feel tension or heat? What thoughts arise? Instead of trying to push the anger away or cling to it, simply notice it. Label it gently. Anger, tension, frustration. See it as a visitor passing through. Bring a sense of kindness to the experience. You might say silently to yourself, "May I be gentle with this anger, or this feeling will pass." Notice how the anger changes moment by moment. Is it intense or dull? Does it move or stay still? Are there other feelings underneath, like sadness or fear? When you feel ready, bring your attention back to your breath, grounding yourself in the present moment. This practice trains us to meet anger with awareness and compassion rather than reaction. Over time, it weakens the power anger holds and opens the door to forgiveness and peace. Why? Forgiveness is the cure. Anger is the poison. Forgiveness is the antidote. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring injustice or pretending harm did not occur. Instead, forgiveness is a conscious decision to release the burden of anger and resentment. Buddhist teachings emphasize forgiveness as a way to free the mind from suffering. When we forgive, we stop feeding the fire of hatred. We break the cycle of cause and effect that traps us in suffering. Forgiveness begins with recognizing our shared humanity. Everyone makes mistakes and acts out of suffering or ignorance at times. It is about protecting our own peace and well-being. It is about choosing freedom over bondage. The role of compassion in healing anger. Compassion is central to forgiveness. It is the ability to hold pain our own or others with kindness and understanding. When anger arises, compassion allows us to soften the harsh judgments we might hold about ourselves or others. By developing compassion, we see that those who hurt us are often acting from their own wounds. This insight does not justify harm, but it opens the heart to empathy and healing. In Buddhist practice, compassion is cultivated not only for others, but also for ourselves. Self-compassion helps us forgive our own mistakes and limitations. reducing self-directed anger and guilt. Applying these teachings in daily life, in everyday life, anger and resentment can sneak in unnoticed, perhaps as impatience with a coworker, frustration with a family member, or irritation with ourselves. Mindfulness teaches us to catch these feelings early before they grow into overwhelming anger. When we notice anger rising, this pause creates the possibility to choose a skillful response instead of reacting impulsively. Forgiveness becomes an ongoing practice, not a one-time event. It asks us to continually return to the present moment with an open heart and to gently release the past. Guided reflection on noticing feelings without attachment. Let's end this segment with a guided reflection. Find a comfortable seat and close your eyes if you wish. Take a few deep breaths. Let the memory come naturally without forcing it. Notice the emotions that arise. Observe any physical sensations, seat, tightness, tension. Say silently to yourself, I see you, anger. I notice you, without judgment. Allow yourself to feel the emotion fully, like watching waves on the ocean. Remember that feelings come and go, like clouds passing across the sky. Bring your attention back to your breath, gently and kindly. Repeat to yourself, I am not my anger. I am the awareness behind it. When ready, open your eyes, carrying this calm awareness with you. Anger is a natural human emotion, but when it becomes resentment, it acts like poison, harming our mind, body, and relationships. Buddhism offers us the powerful tools of mindfulness and compassion to observe anger clearly without attachment. It is a journey of transformation that begins with awareness and kindness, leading to peace and freedom. As you move forward, remember to meet your anger with curiosity and compassion. Allow it to teach you about your mind and heart, and slowly, gently, let go of the poison so the healing can begin. In the journey toward forgiveness and healing, the Buddha offered profound guidance through what are known as the Four Brahmaviharas, often translated as the Four Divine Abodes or the Four Immeasurables. These are foundational qualities of heart and mind that cultivate deep peace, compassion, and connection. They serve as essential supports for the practice of forgiveness. The four Brahmaviharas are loving kindness, metta compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, mudita equanimity, upekkha. Each of these qualities nurtures forgiveness by transforming how we relate to ourselves, others, and the challenges of life. Loving-kindness, metta. The foundation of forgiven Leslie-Vinkenness, or metta, is the wish for all beings to be happy and free from suffering. It is the gentle warmth of goodwill that radiates from the heart without expectation or condition. Forgiveness begins here. When resentment weighs heavily on our hearts, cultivating metta softens the hardness and opens us to kindness. 7 Toward those who have hurt us. Metta is not naive or sentimental. It does not deny the reality of pain or wrongdoing. Instead, it chooses to respond with warmth and benevolence, recognizing the shared desire for happiness that connects all beings. This loving kindness extends first to ourselves, acknowledging our own struggles and worthiness of peace. Then it reaches outward to others, including those who have caused harm. The practice of metta gently breaks down the barriers of anger and fear, creating space for forgiveness to grow. Compassion, karuna, embracing suffering. Compassion, or karuna, arises naturally from loving kindness when we witness suffering, whether our own or others. Compassion is not pity or sorrow, but a deep, active empathy that moves us to respond with care. It recognizes that pain and difficulty are part of the human experience. When we hold resentment, we often forget that those who hurt us are also suffering in their own way. Compassion invites us to see beyond the surface, to recognize the hidden struggles behind harmful actions. This understanding does not excuse wrongdoing, but helps dissolve hatred and opens the heart to forgiveness. Karuna encourages us to respond to pain with healing energy rather than retaliation or bitterness. Sympathetic joy, mudita, celebrating others' happiness. Sympathetic joy, or mudita, is the ability to feel genuine happiness for others' success, joy, and well-being. When resentment clouds our hearts, jealousy or bitterness can arise, blocking our ability to rejoice in others' happiness even when it has nothing to do with us. Mudita counters this by cultivating an expansive joy that delights in others' good fortune. Regardless of our personal circumstances, this joyous attitude loosens the grip of envy and resentment, allowing forgiveness to flourish. By practicing mudita, we train ourselves to celebrate life's blessings without comparison or competition. Equanimity, upaka, balanced acceptance. Equanimity, or upaka, is a state of even-mindedness and calm acceptance. It arises when we cultivate detachment from extremes of emotion, neither clinging to pleasure nor resisting pain. Upaka supports forgiveness by helping us maintain balance amid difficult feelings like anger, hurt, or disappointment. This balanced perspective allows us to see situations clearly without being overwhelmed or biased. With equanimity, we develop resilience to suffering and reduce the tendency to react with resentment. How the four Brahmaviharas nurture forgiveness. Together, these four qualities create a fertile ground for forgiveness. Metta opens the heart with kindness. Karuna embraces pain with empathy. Mudita frees the mind from envy. Upeka steadies us with calmness. They transform the inner landscape, shifting us from a place of hurt and resistance to one of healing and acceptance. Forgiveness becomes not just a decision, but a natural expression of a heart cultivated by these virtues. Cultivating metta, a practice for forgiving those who hurt us. Let's explore a simple metta practice designed specifically to nurture forgiveness, even toward those who have caused us pain. Step 1. Prepare your mind and body. Find a quiet, comfortable place to sit. Close your eyes gently and take a few deep, calming breaths. Allow your body to relax and your mind to settle. Step 2. Begin with yourself. Bring your attention to yourself. Repeat silently or aloud phrases of loving kindness directed to yourself. You might say, "May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease." Allow these wishes to resonate with warmth and sincerity. Feel the kindness you are directing inward. Step 3. Extend loving kindness to a neutral person. Now think of someone neutral, someone you neither strongly like nor dislike. It might be a neighbor, a colleague, or a stranger you've seen briefly. Repeat the same phrases for this person. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Notice any feelings that arise. Allow the kindness to flow without expectation. Step 4. Bring to mind someone you love now. direct your metta to someone you deeply care about, friend, family member, or teacher. Repeat the phrases with heartfelt sincerity. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Allow your heart to open and radiate warmth toward this person. Step 5. Extend loving kindness to someone difficult. This step may feel challenging, but it is key for forgiveness. Bring to mind a person who has hurt you or someone you struggle to forgive. Repeat the same phrases. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. If resistance arises, acknowledge it gently, without judgment. Recognize that this person, like you, wishes to be happy and free from suffering. Allow the practice to soften your heart toward them, even if only a little. Step 6. Embrace all beings. Finally, extend your loving kindness to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with ease. Feel the vastness of your kindness expanding beyond yourself and those close to you. Reflecting on the practice, this metta practice cultivates forgiveness by fostering empathy, reducing anger, and opening the heart. It is a process often gradual and gentle, not a demand to force feelings prematurely. The more we practice, the more natural it becomes to respond to pain with kindness rather than resentment. The transformative power of the Brahmaviharas in daily life, applying the 4 Brahmaviharas, transforms how we relate to conflict and hurt in daily life. When someone offends or disappoints us, cultivating metta reminds us to wish them well rather than curse them. Karuna invites us to understand the suffering that may underlie their behavior. Mudita helps us rejoice in others' happiness rather than envy or compete. Upeka grounds us in balance, helping us respond rather than react. Integrating the Brahmaviharas with forgiveness. Forgiveness, supported by the Brahmaviharas, is deep and lasting because it arises from genuine heart qualities, that it frees us from bitterness and fosters reconciliation, whether with others or within ourselves. When forgiveness becomes an expression of loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, it becomes a path to liberation. As we conclude this segment, take a moment to reflect. How might cultivating loving kindness soften your heart toward those you find hard to forgive? How can compassion help you understand the pain behind harmful actions? In what ways can sympathetic joy shift your mind from envy to celebration? How might equanimity support you in maintaining balance amid emotional challenges? Invite these qualities to grow within you, knowing that they are the foundation of true forgiveness. Grief is one of the most profound and painful experiences that human beings face. It can overwhelm the heart, cloud the mind, and make the world feel unbearable. The story of Kisa Gautami is a timeless tale from the Buddhist tradition that teaches us about grief, acceptance, and the path toward healing through understanding impermanence. The story of Kisa Gautami was a young woman who lived long ago, in the time of the Buddha. She was married and deeply loved her only child, a little boy who was the light of her life. One day, tragedy struck. Her beloved child fell seriously ill and died. The grief that followed was crushing. In her overwhelming sorrow, Kisa Gautami was unable to accept the reality of her loss. She clung to the hope that her child could be brought back to life. Desperate and distraught, she carried the child's body and went from house to house in her village, begging for medicine or help to cure him, but no one could help. Her pain was so deep that she seemed lost in a world of suffering and denial. The Buddha's compassionate teaching. One day, someone told Kisa Gautami about the Buddha guidance. In her desperation, she sought him out and asked if he could help her. The Buddha listened patiently to her story and her plea. Then, with gentle compassion, he gave her a task. He told her, "Go into the village and find a mustard seed from a home where no one has died." Kisa Gautami eagerly set out, hopeful that this seed might be the medicine to save her child. But as she went from house to house, she found that every family had experienced death. No household was untouched by loss. No family was free from suffering. Gradually, Kisa Gautami realized the truth of what the Buddha had taught her. Death and suffering are universal. No one escapes them. The lesson of impermanence. This realization was the beginning of Kisa Gautami's healing. The Buddha taught that all things in life, health, youth, love, even life itself, impermanent. They change, decay, and eventually pass away. Clinging to permanence or resisting change only leads to suffering. This teaching of impermanence is central to Buddhism. It asks us to accept the natural flow of life, including its inevitable losses and changes. Acceptance does not mean resignation or numbness. Instead, it is a courageous embrace of reality as it is, allowing us to live more fully and peacefully. For Kisa Gautami, acceptance meant letting go of her child's body and her wish to reverse death. It meant opening her heart to the universal experience of loss and suffering, forgiveness and letting go. Accepting reality. What does this story have to do with forgiveness and letting go of resentment? Often resentment and anger arise because we resist the reality of what has happened. We hold on tightly to how things should have been, or to our expectations of fairness and justice. From the Buddhist perspective, is closely linked to acceptance. It involves acknowledging the reality of suffering, both our own and that of others, and choosing to let go of the emotional burdens we carry. This acceptance creates the conditions for healing. By accepting impermanence, we begin to see that clinging to anger or resentment is like trying to hold on to water with a clenched fist. It slips away, and the grasping only causes pain. The process. Denial prolongs suffering, while acceptance opens the door to peace. When we experience deep hurt or betrayal, the impulse to resist is strong. We want things to be different. We want justice or apology. We want the pain to disappear. But this resistance keeps us trapped. Acceptance is not about liking or approving what happened. It is about recognizing the truth and allowing ourselves to feel what we feel without adding extra layers of blame, judgment, or expectation. Through acceptance, we create space within ourselves. This space allows the mind to relax and the heart to soften. It invites forgiveness to arise naturally. Reflection. Impermanence as a path to forgiveness. Take a moment to reflect on impermanence in your own life. Consider the changes you have faced, disappointments, endings. How did these experiences shape your heart? Were there times when resisting reality prolonged your pain? When we understand that everything changes, we see that holding on to resentment is holding on to something that no longer exists or can be changed. Forgiveness is the letting go of this grasping. Impermanence reminds us that both pain and joy are temporary. It encourages us to cherish the present moment and to meet life with an open heart, knowing that change is inevitable. Forgiveness is a journey. Forgiveness is rarely a sudden event, but always healing. In Buddhist practice, forgiveness often begins with small steps, noticing our feelings without judgment, practicing compassion toward ourselves and others, and gently releasing grudges. Kisha Gautama's story invites us to see that even the deepest grief can transform when met with wisdom and kindness. Guided reflection on acceptance and letting go. Let's conclude this segment with a guided reflection. Find a comfortable, quiet place. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a few slow, deep breaths, feeling your body settle. Bring to mind something in your life that you are holding on to tightly, perhaps a hurt, a resentment, or a loss. Notice how holding on to this feeling affects your body. Is there tension or heaviness? Gently allow yourself to acknowledge the reality of this experience without trying to change it. Say silently to yourself, I accept this as part of my life. I acknowledge my pain and allow it to be. Imagine placing this feeling in your hands, then slowly opening your hands to let it go. Like leaves drifting down a stream, feel the space that opens within you as you release your grip. Repeat silently, may I find peace in acceptance. May I forgive and let go. When you are ready, bring your attention back to your breath and to the present moment. Open your eyes gently. The story of Kisha Gautama is a profound teaching on the power of acceptance and the path to healing, reality, and letting go of the illusions of permanence and control. Through acceptance, we open the door to compassion, peace, and freedom. As you continue on your path to forgiveness, carry this story in your heart. Allow the wisdom of impermanence to guide you through grief and resentment toward healing and peace. Remember, but gaining a deeper connection to life as it is, and a lighter, freer heart. Stories have long been a powerful way to communicate profound truths, especially in the Buddhist tradition, where simple parables carry deep spiritual lessons. One such story is that of the farmer and the snake. This tale offers us insight into the nature of harm, the dangers of holding on to resentment, and the liberating power of non-attachment. The story of the farmer and the snake. Once upon a time, there was a farmer who lived a peaceful life in a small village surrounded by forests and fields. One chilly morning, as he was walking along a path, he noticed a snake lying by the roadside. The snake was cold and stiff, seemingly lifeless. Feeling compassion for the poor creature, the farmer gently picked up the snake and placed it inside his warm coat to protect it from the cold. As the farmer walked on, the snake slowly revived, warmed by the farmer's kindness. But just as the farmer was about to continue on his way, the snake bit him. The venom from the bite caused great pain and suffering, and the farmer collapsed on the ground. The farmer's neighbors rushed to help him and asked why he had risked his life to save a creature that had bitten him in return. The farmer replied, "It is in the nature of the snake to bite. I did what I could to help, but the snake's nature is not mine." The lesson behind the story: this story illustrates a profound truth about harm and forgiveness. It reminds us that harm often arises from the nature or condition of the one who causes it, not from us personally. The farmer acted from kindness and compassion, but the snake acted according to its instinct. Similarly, when others hurt us, their actions often stem from their own nature, fears, wounds, or conditioning. This understanding helps us separate the act from ourselves and prevents us from taking harm personally or attaching to resentment. How? Attachment to resentment harms ourselves when we hold on to anger or resentment towards someone who has hurt us. We are like the farmer who keeps clutching the snake. We hold tightly to the pain, nursing a grievance, hoping for justice or retribution. But in doing so, we poison ourselves. Resentment is a form of attachment, a grasping to the past, to pain, to the belief that we have been wronged and must carry that burden indefinitely. This attachment consumes our energy and peace. It can affect our relationships, health, and happiness. The story shows us that harm is sometimes unavoidable, but suffering is often optional, depending on how we respond. Teaching on non-attachment and letting go of blame Buddhism teaches the principle of non-attachment, letting go of clinging to people, emotions, possessions, or ideas. Non-attachment does not mean indifference or coldness. Instead, it means holding things lightly and accepting their impermanent nature. Applying this to harm and resentment means not clinging to blame or anger. It means recognizing that holding on to resentment is a choice that causes suffering. The farmer did not blame the snake for biting it, was simply in the snake's nature. Similarly, we can recognize that people act out of their conditioning and pain, even if it causes us harm. Letting go of blame is liberating. It frees us from the mental chains of resentment and opens space for forgiveness and healing. Reflection on releasing judgments, holding judgment toward those who hurt us, keeps resentment alive. Judgments create divisions, good versus bad, right versus wrong, self versus other. These mental labels fuel anger and prevent understanding. By releasing judgment, we open the possibility to see others with compassion and clarity. We recognize their humanity, flaws, and struggles. Releasing judgments is a process, takes patience and mindfulness. But as we practice, we find ourselves less burdened by bitterness and more able to live with peace. Practical guidance: how to let go of resentment, recognize the nature of harm, understand that hurtful actions arise from the other's nature and conditioning. This recognition reduces personalization. Observe your emotions. Use mindfulness to notice anger or resentment without clinging or reacting. Practice non-attachment. Remind yourself that holding on to blame only prolongs suffering. Cultivate compassion. Try to understand the struggles behind the harmful behavior. Release judgment. Let go of harsh mental labels that divide and isolate. Forgive for your own peace. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. Freeing your heart from poison. Guided reflection on understanding harm and letting go. Let's take a moment for a guided reflection. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. If you wish, take a few deep breaths and settle your attention inward. Bring to mind a situation where you felt harmed or hurt by someone. Notice the feelings that are pain, sadness, or resentment. Acknowledge these feelings without judgment. Now, imagine the person who hurt you, seeing them as the farmer saw the snake acting according to their nature, conditioned by their experiences. Silently repeat to yourself, I release blame and anger. I choose peace. Feel the tension ease as you let go of judgment. Return your attention to your breath. grounding yourself in the present moment when ready. Open your eyes gently. The story of the farmer and the snake teaches us that harm is sometimes inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Attachment to resentment binds us like chains, poisoning our hearts. Through understanding, non-attachment, and releasing judgment, we free ourselves to forgive and heal. May this story inspire you to hold lightly the pains of the past and open your heart to peace. In the journey toward healing and peace, forgiveness is often misunderstood. Many see forgiveness as an act of weakness, a concession that lets others off the hook or diminishes their wrongdoing. However, Buddhism reveals forgiveness in a far more empowering light as an essential gift you give to yourself today. We will explore forgiveness not as a favor to others, but as a profound act of self-care. We will examine how forgiveness opens the door to inner freedom, and why choosing peace over pain is one of the greatest acts of courage you can make. The common misconception: forgiveness as weakness. Forgiveness is sometimes seen as weakness because it involves releasing anger, resentment, or desire for revenge, emotions that can feel like our defense mechanisms. Holding on to these feelings can seem like a way to protect ourselves, to assert that we are justified, and to demand justice. This belief, however, traps us in cycles of pain and bitterness. When we cling to resentment, we are continually reliving the hurt and feeding the suffering in our own hearts. We become prisoners of the past. In contrast, forgiveness frees us. It breaks the cycle, releases us from the emotional chains that bind us, and restores our capacity to live fully in the present. Forgiveness as self-care, its core. Forgiveness is an act of self-care. It is a gift we give ourselves, not to condone harm or forget injustice, but to reclaim our peace and well-being. Think of forgiveness as cleaning a wound. Holding on to resentment is like keeping dirt and poison in a cut, preventing healing and causing infection. Forgiveness is the act of cleansing, allowing the wound to heal naturally. When we forgive, we remove the toxins of anger and hatred that corrode our mind and body. This release restores clarity, calm, and joy. Forgiveness does not mean that what happened was acceptable or that we have to remain in harmful situations. It simply means choosing to let go of the pain and bitterness that hold us captive. The Buddhist perspective on inner freedom. Buddhism teaches that true freedom is freedom of the mind, the liberation from suffering caused by craving, aversion, and ignorance. Resentment and unforgiveness are forms of mental imprisonment. They tether us to the past and fill our minds with negative energy. This internal bondage prevents us from experiencing genuine peace. Forgiveness is the key to unlocking this prison. It is a courageous step toward self-liberation. By forgiving, we release ourselves from the grip of painful memories and open space for healing. The Buddha encouraged his followers to cultivate forgiveness as a way to purify the mind and develop loving kindness. He showed that forgiveness is not a passive act, but a dynamic force that transforms the heart. Why choosing peace over pain matters. Every moment we hold onto anger or resentment is a moment of suffering we choose to endure. While it may feel justified, this suffering ultimately harms us more than those who caused the original pain. Choosing peace over pain is an act of radical self-love. It is a declaration that your well-being matters, that you deserve freedom from suffering. Peace does not mean complacency. It means responding to harm with wisdom and compassion, rather than allowing anger to control us. By choosing peace, we reclaim our power. We shift from victimhood to agency, from suffering to healing. Forgiveness as empowerment, far from being weak. Forgiveness is one of the strongest acts we can perform. It requires vulnerability to open the heart and let go of resentment. It demands courage to face our pain and not be defined by it. Forgiveness empowers us to live authentically and fully. It frees us to create new stories beyond hurt and betrayal. By forgiving, we break cycles of violence, fear, and hatred, both within ourselves and in the world around us. Practical steps to cultivate. Don't rush or suppress your emotions. Understand forgiveness is for you. Remind yourself that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not a favor to others. Practice mindfulness. Observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. When resentment arises, develop loving kindness. Use loving kindness meditation to cultivate warmth toward yourself and others. Release expectations. Let go of needing apologies or justice to feel peace. Choose peace. Make a conscious decision to prioritize your inner peace over ongoing pain. Find a comfortable seat. Close your eyes and take several deep, calming breaths. Bring to mind a situation or person that you struggle to forgive. Notice how holding on to this pain affects you. Now, silently say to yourself, I forgive myself for holding on to this pain. I release resentment and choose peace. Feel the warmth of compassion entering your heart. Allow yourself to receive this gift of forgiveness. Breathe deeply and gently. Return your focus to the present moment. Conclusion. Embrace forgiveness as your gift. Forgiveness is a powerful, transformative gift that you give to yourself. It is not a sign of weakness or surrender, but a courageous act of self-care and liberation. By forgiving, you free your mind, heal your heart, and open the door to lasting peace. Remember, forgiveness is a journey, often unfolding gradually. Be gentle and patient with yourself. Choose peace, choose freedom, choose forgiveness for you. Stories of transformation hold a special place in spiritual traditions. They remind us that change is always possible, no matter how dark the past or how heavy the burden we carry. One of the most inspiring tales from Tibetan Buddhism is the story of Milarepa man who began his life filled with revenge and violence, but through perseverance and spiritual practice, became one of the greatest enlightened masters. Early life and the path of revenge. Milarepa was born into a wealthy family, but after his father's death, his uncle and aunt seized the family estate, leaving Milarepa and his mother in poverty. Determined to get revenge, he turned to the study of black magic and sorcery. Using his newfound powers, Milarepa caused great harm to his enemies, destroying their homes and lives. For years, he pursued revenge with relentless intensity, but despite his actions, Milarepa found no peace. The anger that fueled his sorcery only deepened his suffering. The turning point. Meeting the spiritual teacher. Milarepa's life changed dramatically when he met his spiritual teacher, Marpa, the translator. Marpa was a strict and demanding master who recognized the potential for transformation in Milarepa. Marpa subjected Milarepa to difficult trials, testing his resolve and purifying his mind. These challenges were painful and exhausting, but Milarepa persevered, driven by the desire for freedom from his past and the suffering within. Transformation through practice. Under Marpa's guidance, Milarepa devoted himself to intense meditation and spiritual practice. He retreated to isolated caves in the mountains, living in harsh conditions and focusing entirely on purifying his mind and realizing the true nature of reality. Through years of dedication, Milarepa transformed his mind completely. He let go of anger, attachment, and ego. He cultivated compassion, wisdom, and equanimity, state of perfect peace and freedom. The power of the mind to transform. Milarepa's journey teaches us that the mind is incredibly powerful and capable of profound transformation. No matter how dark or painful our past may be, our minds can be purified and renewed through practice, patience, and determination. Buddhism teaches that our suffering arises from ignorance and negative mental habits, but these can be overcome. Meditation, ethical conduct, and wisdom cultivate positive qualities and release us from the bonds of anger and hatred. Patience and perseverance on the path. Milarepa's story also highlights the importance of patience and perseverance. Transformation is rarely quick or easy. It requires sustained effort, even in the face of hardship and discouragement. Milarepa endured great physical and emotional challenges. His example inspires us to continue our own journeys of forgiveness and healing, even when progress seems slow. Forgiveness as part of transformation. Forgiveness was a crucial part of Milarepa's transformation. By releasing his desire for revenge and anger toward those who wronged him, he freed his heart to cultivate compassion and wisdom. This release is an essential step toward inner peace. Forgiveness is not about forgetting or excusing harm. It is about freeing ourselves from the chains of resentment that bind us. Reflection. Your own journey of transformation. Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Are there moments of anger, hurt, or desire for revenge that weigh heavily on your heart? Remember Milarepa's story. Transformation is possible through patience, perseverance, and practice. You have the power to change your mind, to forgive, and to find peace. Guided meditation, cultivating patience and forgiveness. Find a comfortable seated position. Close your eyes and take several deep breaths. Bring to mind someone you find difficult to forgive. Of compassion and forgiveness to arise gently. Imagine your heart softening, releasing the grip of anger and pain. Breathe deeply and slowly return your attention to the present moment. Open your eyes when you feel ready. Milarepa's story is a beacon of hope. It shows us that no matter how heavy our burdens, the mind can be transformed through forgiveness, patience, and dedicated practice. We can move from darkness into light. May his example inspire you to walk your own path toward healing and enlightenment. Resentment is like a heavy weight on the heart, an invisible tension that tightens the chest and clouds the mind. It often arises quietly beneath the surface, growing stronger over time if left unrecognized. One of the most powerful tools to counteract this inner burden is mindful breathing, a simple yet profound practice that anchors us in the present moment and gently releases the tension tied to resentment. Today, we will explore the practice of mindful breathing as a gateway to forgiveness and peace. We will guide you through a meditation designed to help you observe your feelings, soften resistance, and open your heart to healing. Understanding the power of the breath is life itself. It is always with us, flowing naturally from moment to moment. Because of its constant presence, the breath becomes a reliable anchor, a point of focus that helps us return to the here and now. When resentment arises, the mind tends to spin into past hurts or future worries. This mental activity fuels stress and keeps us trapped in cycles of pain. Mindful breathing helps interrupt this cycle by drawing attention away from rumination and back to the present. Scientific studies support what ancient traditions have known. For centuries, focusing on the breath reduces stress hormones, lowers heart rate, relaxes muscles, and calms the nervous system. This physical relaxation creates space for emotional healing. Anchoring to the present moment, the core of mindful breathing is awareness, paying gentle, non-judgmental attention to each breath as it enters and leaves the body. This simple act of observation trains the mind to be present. Instead of being caught in stories of resentment, you become a witness to your experience, able to see anger and pain without being overwhelmed. When practiced regularly, this anchoring builds resilience. You learn to notice when resentment arises and choose not to react impulsively. Instead, you pause, breathe, and respond with calmness and clarity. Guided mindful breathing meditation to release resentment. Let's now move into a guided meditation designed specifically to help you release tension connected to resentment. Find a comfortable place to sit or lie down. Allow your body to relax naturally. You may close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. Take a deep breath in through your nose, and exhale fully through your mouth. Begin to bring your attention to the natural flow of your breath. Notice the coolness as air enters your nostrils and the warmth as it leaves. Feel your chest and abdomen gently rising and falling with each breath as you settle into this rhythm. Notice any areas of tension in your body, perhaps in your chest, shoulders, or jaw. Imagine these areas softening with each exhale. Now, gently bring to mind any resentment or anger you may be holding. Observe where in your body you feel this tension or discomfort without trying to change anything. Simply notice the sensation. Be curious and compassionate with yourself as you inhale. Silently say to yourself, breathing in, I recognize this anger. As you exhale, silently say, breathing out, I release this tension. Repeat this cycle with each breath. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the breath and the phrases. Allow the breath to soften the tightness. Imagine the breath flowing into the areas of discomfort, dissolving hardness and heavyness. Feel the anger becoming lighter, more manageable, like clouds drifting away. Now, expand your awareness to your heart center with each breath. Imagine a warm, gentle light radiating from your heart, spreading kindness and forgiveness inward. Silently say, may I be free from resentment. May I find peace. Allow these intentions to sink deeply into your being. If it feels appropriate, bring to mind the person or situation tied to your resentment. Visualize extending this warm light of forgiveness outward, surrounding that person or circumstance. Silently say, may you be free from suffering. May you find peace. Notice any resistance or discomfort. Allow it without judgment. Remember, forgiveness is a process. It does not require forcing feelings prematurely. Return your attention once again to your breath. Feel yourself grounded in this present moment. Supported by the natural rhythm of life, take a few more deep breaths, inhaling calm and exhaling tension. When you feel ready, gently open your eyes. Take a moment to notice how you feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. Returning to the breath whenever anger arises. Mindful breathing is a practice you can carry with you throughout the day. Whenever you notice anger or resentment arising, pause. Bring your attention to your breath. Use the breath as a safe harbor amidst emotional storms. This simple action creates space to choose peace over reaction, healing over hurt. With time and practice, you will find your mind less overwhelmed by resentment and your heart more open to forgiveness. Encouragement to embrace the breath as a healing tool. Forgiveness is not always easy. Resentment can feel justified, even necessary. But holding on to anger weighs heavily on the heart and mind. The breath offers a gentle, steady anchor, a way to calm the waves of emotion and reconnect with your inner peace. Embrace this practice as a gift to yourself. Return to the breath as often as you need, with patience and kindness. Healing unfolds naturally, integrating mindful breathing into daily life. Here are some practical tips to help you integrate mindful breathing into your daily routine. Start your day with breath awareness. Spend a few minutes each morning focusing on your breath to set a calm tone. Use breath breaks throughout your day, especially during stressful moments. Pause for several mindful breaths. Create reminders, place notes, or alarms to remind you to breathe mindfully. Combine with movement. Practice mindful breathing during walking or yoga. End your day with breath meditation. Use mindful breathing before sleep to release accumulated tension. Reflection. Your personal relationship with resentment and breath. Take a moment to reflect on your relationship with resentment. How does it affect your body and mind? How might mindful breathing offer a pathway to release? Consider setting an intention to practice mindful breathing regularly, especially when challenging emotions arise. Mindful breathing is a powerful practice that connects us to the present moment and offers relief from the burdens of resentment. It nurtures forgiveness by calming the mind, releasing tension, and opening the heart as you continue on your path. Remember, the breath is always with you a constant source of healing and peace. May this practice guide you toward deeper freedom and compassion. Forgiveness is one of the most challenging and transformative acts we can undertake, especially when it touches the deepest parts of our hearts, our relationships. Betrayal can shatter trust and leave wounds that seem impossible to heal. Yet, the story of a woman who forgave her husband's betrayal offers us profound lessons on courage, vulnerability, and the power of forgiveness to heal broken bonds. The beginning, a life shattered by betrayal. Once, there was a woman who had built her life and dreams around her marriage. She and her husband had shared years of love, companionship, and plans for the future. They had weathered storms together and celebrated joys. But one day, her world was shaken. She discovered that her husband had betrayed her trust in a way she never imagined. The pain was unbearably deep wound that seemed to tear her apart from within. In that moment, she faced a crossroads. She could allow anger, bitterness, and resentment to consume her, or she could embark on the difficult path of forgiveness. The courage to choose forgiveness. Choosing forgiveness was not easy. It required courage to confront her pain honestly and to open her heart despite the risk of further hurt. She realized that holding on to resentment would only prolong her suffering and poison the love they once shared. Forgiveness became her act of self-care and empowerment, a way to reclaim peace and hope. Lessons on trust and vulnerability. Forgiveness in relationships is deeply tied to trust. Betrayal damages trust, which is the foundation of intimacy and connection. Rebuilding trust requires vulnerability, the willingness to be open and honest, even when afraid. The woman learned that vulnerability is not a weakness but a strength. It allows space for healing and growth through open communication, honesty, and patience. She and her husband began the slow process of rebuilding their bond. The power of forgiveness to heal. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it changes how the past shapes the present. It transforms pain into compassion and bitterness into understanding. In this woman's journey, forgiveness became the bridge to healing, not just for her marriage, but for herself. She discovered that forgiveness freed her from the chains of resentment and opened her heart to love again. Reflection on healing broken bonds. Healing broken bonds is a process. It requires time, effort, and commitment from all involved. Forgiveness is the first step, but healing also involves rebuilding trust, setting boundaries, and fostering mutual respect. The woman's story reminds us that broken relationships can be mended with courage and grace. Guided reflection, opening the heart to forgiveness. Find a quiet space and close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Take several deep, calming breaths. Bring to mind a relationship where forgiveness feels difficult. Notice any feelings that arise: pain, fear, anger, or hope. Silently say to yourself, I acknowledge my pain. I open my heart to healing. Imagine a warm light filling your heart, softening the pain and opening space for forgiveness. Allow yourself to feel courage and compassion when you are ready. Slowly open your eyes. The story of the woman who forgave her husband teaches us that forgiveness is a powerful act of courage and love. It shows that even the deepest wounds can heal when met with vulnerability and compassion. As you reflect on your own relationships, remember that forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. Path to peace, freedom, and renewed connection. May this story inspire you to embrace forgiveness with an open heart. Among the core teachings of the Buddha, the doctrine of anatta, or non-self, stands as one of the most profound and transformative insights. This teaching challenges the very notion of a fixed, permanent self and invites us to see ourselves and others as ever-changing, interconnected processes rather than isolated, unchanging identities. Understanding non-self has deep implications for forgiveness. It softens the rigid boundaries of ego that often fuel resentment and personal offense. By recognizing the fluid and interdependent nature of self, we open the door to compassion, empathy, and ultimately, forgiveness. In this segment, we will explore the teaching of anatta, how it affects our experience of self and other, and how this understanding supports the release of ego-driven resentment. The doctrine of anatta. What is non-self? To grasp anatta, it helps to begin with what we typically think of as the self. Most people experience themselves as a stable, enduring. I or me, a core essence that remains consistent through time. We identify with our thoughts, feelings, memories, and physical bodies, believing these define who we are. The Buddha taught that this sense of a permanent self is an illusion, a misconception that leads to suffering. Instead, what we call self is a constantly changing collection of physical and mental processes, sensations, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness, and form. These elements arise and pass away in every moment, just as a river appears to be a single entity, but is really a flow of ever-changing water. The self is a process, not a fixed thing. This insight is known as the doctrine of anatta, or non-self. Why does the Buddha teach non? The Buddha taught anatta to help us overcome attachment and suffering. When we cling to a fixed sense of self, we become defensive and protective. We react strongly to threats, criticism, or perceived slights because we believe our self is at stake. This clinging leads to fear, anger, resentment, and conflict. By seeing the self as fluid and interconnected rather than fixed and separate, we loosen the grip of ego. We become less reactive, more open, and more able to forgive. Non-self and personal offense arises when we take things personally, when actions, words, or events are seen as attacks on ourself. This identification fuels resentment and anger. We feel wronged, hurt, or disrespected because our ego perceives a threat. However, when we recognize the self as fluid, we realize that the I we defend is not a solid, unchanging entity, but a dynamic process influenced by countless causes and conditions. This understanding reduces the tendency to take things personally. It softens emotional reactivity and opens the way to forgiveness. Detaching from ego-driven resentment. Ego is the voice in our minds that insists, "This is mine," or "I am right." It seeks to protect its identity and control. Resentment is often an ego-driven response, fueled by hurt, pride, wounded self-image, or unmet expectations. When we detach from the ego's demands and recognize the impermanent nature of self, resentment loses its power. Detachment does not mean indifference or passivity. Rather, it means releasing the need to defend the ego and allowing space for understanding and compassion. Forgiveness as a practice of non-self-forgiveness is deeply aligned with the practice of realizing non-self. By letting go of the fixed I and mine, we open to seeing others with less judgment and more empathy. We understand that both ourselves and others are shaped by circumstances beyond our control, history, conditioning, and moment-to-moment causes. This perspective dissolves blame and hard feelings, paving the way for forgiveness, practical application. Cultivating awareness of non-self. Here are some ways to apply the teaching of non-self in the context of forgiveness. Observe your thoughts. Notice when you feel personally attacked or defensive. Question the solidity of the I that is offended. Practice mindfulness. See your emotions as passing phenomena, not fixed parts of your identity. Reflect on impermanence. Remind yourself that feelings, thoughts, and situations change continuously. Cultivate empathy. Recognize the shared humanity and conditioning of yourself and others. Release judgments. Let go of rigid labels like good and bad that reinforce separation. Guided reflection. Experiencing non-self and forgiveness. Sit comfortably and close your eyes if you wish. Take a few deep breaths, letting your body relax. Bring to mind a recent situation where you felt hurt or offended. Notice the story your mind tells about the self that was attacked. Begin to observe this self as a collection of changing experiences, thoughts, emotions coming and going. Silently say to yourself, this sense of self is fluid and impermanent. It is not fixed. Allow feelings of resistance or attachment to soften. Bring to mind the other person involved. Recognize their humanity and complexity. Say silently, may I forgive, knowing we are all changing beings, seeking happiness. Return your attention to your breath. When you are ready, gently open your eyes. The freedom that comes with non-self and forgiveness. Realizing non-self is liberating. It frees us from the burden of defending a rigid identity. Forgiveness flows naturally from this freedom. We no longer need to cling to resentment as a way to protect ourselves. Instead, we move with the flow of life, embracing change and connection. The Buddha's teaching on non-self offers a profound foundation for forgiveness. By understanding the fluid nature of self, we reduce personal offense and detach from ego-driven resentment. This insight opens the heart to compassion, healing, and peace. As you continue your path, remember, forgiveness is not only a gift to others, but a liberation for yourself. May this understanding inspire you to let go and embrace freedom. Forgiveness is often tested most profoundly when harm comes directly to us. How do we respond when we face physical attack or deep betrayal? The story of the monk who forgave his attackers offers an extraordinary example of courage, compassion, and the power of responding to harm not with hatred, but with peace. This story, rooted in Buddhist teachings, reminds us that forgiveness is not a passive surrender, but a radical, active force that transforms suffering and breaks cycles of violence. It invites us to consider the possibility that even in the face of aggression, we can respond with compassion, healing, and profound inner strength. The story, a monk attacked but unbroken once. There was a Buddhist monk who was traveling through a remote village, known for his wisdom and calm presence. The monk was respected by many. However, some villagers, fearful or suspicious of his presence and teachings, decided to attack him. One day, as the monk walked through the village, a group of men confronted him. Without warning, they physically assaulted him, striking and injuring him severely. The monk did not defend himself, nor did he respond with anger or retaliation. Instead, he remained calm and composed. After the attack, rather than harboring resentment or seeking revenge, the monk chose to forgive his attackers. He continued on his path, sending thoughts of compassion and healing toward those who had caused him harm, responding to harm with peace, not hatred. This story exemplifies a core Buddhist teaching that responding to harm with peace and compassion is more powerful than responding with hatred or violence. When we react to aggression with anger or revenge, we perpetuate suffering and conflict. Hatred breeds more hatred, creating cycles that can spiral endlessly. But when we respond with peace, we break these cycles. We stop the momentum of harm and open the possibility for understanding and transformation. The courage behind forgiveness. In such circumstances, demands great courage. It is easy to say forgive, but far harder to practice it when one's body and spirit have been attacked. The monk's forgiveness was an act of immense bravery. He chose to release his right to anger and retaliation, even as his body bore the marks of violence. This courage is not the absence of fear or pain, but the strength to rise above them, to choose peace despite them. Forgiveness as an active choice. Forgiveness is not a passive acceptance of harm or injustice. It is a deliberate, active choice to free oneself from the chains of bitterness. The monk's decision to forgive his attackers was a way of reclaiming his freedom. He refused to let their violence define him or control his mind. By cultivating compassion for his attackers, he transformed his suffering into an opportunity for growth. Reflection. What would it take to forgive? Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever faced harm or betrayal that left you angry or hurt? Imagine the courage it would take to respond with forgiveness instead of resentment. Consider how forgiveness might free you from pain and open your heart. Guided reflection. Cultivating courage to forgive. Find a quiet space and sit comfortably. Close your eyes and take several deep breaths, allowing your body to relax. Bring to mind a situation where you have felt hurt or wronged. Notice the feelings that arise without judgment. Silently repeat to yourself, I have the courage to forgive. I choose peace over pain. Imagine your heart filling with warmth and compassion. Visualize releasing resentment like a heavy burden lifted. Breathe deeply, feeling lighter and freer when ready. Gently open your eyes. Applying this teaching in daily life, the story of the monk encourages us to embody forgiveness, even in difficult situations. When we face harm, whether physical, emotional, or verbal, we can choose how to respond. Mindfulness and compassion can guide us to respond with calmness rather than reaction. This does not mean ignoring injustice, but responding with wisdom that promotes healing. The ripple effect of forgiveness has the power to create ripples far beyond ourselves. The monk's forgiveness might have inspired his attackers to reflect on their actions. Similarly, when we forgive, we contribute to breaking cycles of anger and violence in our communities. Our courage can inspire others to choose peace. The story of the monk who forgave his attackers is a profound example of the power of forgiveness. It teaches us that responding to harm with peace requires courage, but brings freedom. May this story inspire you to embrace forgiveness as a source of strength and healing. Forgiving those who have caused us pain can be one of the most challenging aspects of forgiveness. When someone has hurt us deeply, whether through words, actions, or betrayal, it is natural for our hearts to close and for resentment to take root. Yet, the practice of loving kindness meditation, or metta bhavana, offers a gentle, powerful way to open our hearts, soften resentment, and cultivate forgiveness even for the most difficult people in our lives. Today, we will explore a step-by-step loving kindness meditation designed to help you extend compassion and forgiveness toward those who have hurt you. Along the way, we'll discuss how this practice expands the boundaries of your heart and encourages an open, forgiving mind. Understanding loving kindness meditation. Loving kindness meditation is a practice of cultivating unconditional goodwill toward oneself and others. It is a gradual unfolding of kindness that starts inward and radiates outward, eventually encompassing all beings, even those we find hardest to love. At its core, metta is the intention that all beings may be happy, safe, and free from suffering. This practice nurtures empathy and breaks down barriers of fear, anger, and hatred. When practiced toward difficult people, loving kindness meditation is not about condoning harmful behavior or forgetting the pain caused. Instead, it is a radical act of opening the heart despite pain, choosing compassion over resentment. The challenge of difficult peekaboo is common to feel resistance or discomfort when asked to send loving kindness to someone who has hurt us. Our minds may protest, "They don't deserve this," or "I can't forgive what they did." Is a practice it takes time to cultivate. Each small step forward softens the heart and expands our capacity for forgiveness. Step-by linkiness. Meditation for difficult people. Let's now begin a guided loving kindness meditation focused on those who have caused pain. Step 1. Find a comfortable position. Sit quietly in a comfortable posture. Close your eyes if it feels safe and natural. Take a few deep breaths to settle your body and mind. Step 2. Begin with yourself before extending kindness outward. Start by cultivating loving kindness toward yourself. Repeat silently or aloud phrases such as, "May I be happy, may I be safe, may I be healthy, may I live with ease." Allow these words to resonate in your heart. Notice any feelings that arise. Offer yourself warmth and kindness without judgment. Step 3. Bring to mind someone easy to love next. Think of someone who you naturally feel kindness toward, a close friend, family member, or even a beloved pet. Repeat the same phrases directed toward this person. May you be happy, may you be safe, may you be healthy. To mind someone you neither strongly like nor dislike, a neighbor, a coworker, or someone you see regularly but do not know well. Send them loving kindness with the same phrases. Notice how this feels to extend kindness to someone neutral. Step 5. Bring to mind the difficult person. This is the heart of the practice. Gently bring to mind the person who has caused you pain. It may be helpful to visualize them or simply hold their name in your mind. Repeat silently, "May you be happy, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you live with ease." If resistance or discomfort arises, notice it without judgment. You might say internally, "It's okay to feel this way. This is a practice, and I am taking small steps." Step 6. Expand to all beings. Finally, extend your loving kindness to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with ease. Feel the vastness of this kindness expanding beyond yourself and all individuals. Expanding heart boundaries. This practice is a gentle training in expanding the boundaries of your heart. Often, our hearts close tightly around pain and fear. Loving kindness meditation encourages the heart to open gradually, like a flower unfolding. As you practice, you may notice your capacity for empathy and forgiveness growing. The person who once seemed difficult or unforgivable becomes part of a shared human experience of suffering and hope. This expansion does not erase personal boundaries or self-protection. Instead, it softens harsh judgments and allows more spaciousness for understanding, keeping an open, forgiving mind. Cultivating an open mind is as important as opening the heart. An open mind is curious rather than reactive. It holds space for complexity and ambiguity, acknowledging that people are more than their worst actions. When you encounter resistance during practice, Remind yourself that forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. Patience, self-compassion, and persistence support you in maintaining openness. Practical tips for loving-kindness practice: start small. If focusing on a difficult person feels overwhelming, be patient. Change happens over time. Don't force feelings, but allow them to develop naturally. Journal your experiences. Reflect on your feelings after practice to track progress and insights. Reflection, the transformative pain. What resistance arises, and can you meet it with patience? How might expanding your heart's boundaries affect your relationships and peace? Remember, loving kindness meditation transforms not only our feelings, but also our way of being in the world. Closing guided loving kindness meditation. Let's end with a brief loving kindness meditation. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Bring to mind yourself and silently repeat, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I be healthy, may I live with ease. Now bring to mind someone easy to love. May you be happy, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you live with ease. Bring to mind a neutral person. May you be happy, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you live with ease. Bring to mind someone difficult. May you be happy, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you live with ease. May all beings be safe, may all beings be healthy, may all beings live with ease. Take a few deep breaths. When you are ready, open your eyes gently. Loving kindness meditation is a powerful practice for cultivating forgiveness, especially toward those who challenge us. It nurtures the heart's ability to open, expand, and heal. Remember, forgiveness is a journey of small, courageous steps. Keep your mind open, your heart gentle, and your practice consistent. May this practice guide you toward deeper peace and compassion. Forgiving those who cause us deep harm can sometimes feel impossible. When betrayal strikes from those closest to us, the pain cuts deep, and the path to forgiveness can seem blocked by a wall of anger and hurt. Yet, the story of the Buddha and Devadatta was a cousin and close disciple of the Buddha. At first, he was a follower, committed to the path of awakening. However, over time, Devadatta's heart grew jealous and ambitious. He coveted the leadership of the Buddhist community and resented the Buddha's wisdom and influence. Driven by envy and desire for power, Devadatta began to plot against the Buddha. He sought to create division within the community, spread falsehoods, and ultimately to harm the Buddha himself. The betrayal Devadatta's actions went beyond mere disagreement or rivalry. He attempted to cause physical harm to the Buddha by orchestrating dangerous plots, including rolling a large boulder down a hill to crush him. Though the Buddha escaped unharmed, the betrayal was deep and painful. This betrayal was shocking because it came from someone once close, a trusted disciple turned adversary. The Buddha responded not with anger, but with compassion and forgiveness. He understood that Devadatta's actions arose from suffering, ignorance, and delusion. Rather than condemning or retaliating, the Buddha continued to hold space for Devadatta's potential for awakening. The Buddha's forgiveness was unconditional, not dependent on Devadatta's apology or change. He forgave because holding hatred would only harm himself, and because forgiveness is a path to freedom. Forgiveness without approving wrongdoing. One key lesson from this story is that Forgiveness does not require us to approve or accept wrongdoing. Forgiving Devadatta did not mean the Buddha excused or condoned the betrayal. It did not mean he ignored the harm or allowed Devadatta's actions to continue unchecked. Forgiveness is an inner releasa, freeing of oneself from the burden of anger and resentment. It is not a license to enable harmful behavior. This distinction is crucial. Forgiveness protects our peace without compromising justice or boundaries. Compassion without enabling harm. The Buddha's compassion toward Devadatta was balanced with wisdom. Compassion does not mean passivity in the face of harm. In fact, true compassion sometimes involves setting boundaries or taking action to prevent further damage. The Buddha forgave Devadatta's past actions, but did not blindly trust or ignore the consequences. This balance of forgiveness and discernment is essential in healing relationships and protecting ourselves and others. Reflection. Forgiving the unforgivable. Take a moment to reflect. Are there situations or people in your life you find impossible to forgive? How might holding on to resentment affect your own peace and well-being? Can forgiveness be seen as an act of liberation rather than approval? Guided reflection. Holding compassion with boundaries. Sit comfortably and close your eyes if you wish. Take several deep breaths, feeling your body relax. Bring to mind a person or situation that feels unforgivable. Notice the emotions that are hurt, confusion. Acknowledge these feelings without judgment. Silently say to yourself, I release hatred. I hold compassion. I protect my peace. Imagine setting healthy boundaries that allow you to remain safe while holding kindness. Feel the balance of strength and softness within you. Return your attention to your breath. When ready, open your eyes gently, applying the teaching in your life. The story of the Buddha and Devadatta invites us to practice forgiveness even when it feels impossible. Forgiveness frees us from the prison of anger for ourselves and for others. The Buddha's forgiveness of Devadatta teaches us that even the deepest betrayals can be met with compassion without condoning harm. Forgiveness is an inner freedom that does not require approval of wrongdoing. May this story inspire you to hold forgiveness in your heart courageously, wisely, and with compassion. One of the fundamental teachings of Buddhism is the principle of karma, the law of cause and effect. This principle offers profound insight into how our actions, intentions, and thoughts shape our experiences, both in this life and beyond. Understanding karma provides a powerful framework for releasing resentment and choosing forgiveness. In this segment, we will explore the role of karma in our lives, how holding on to resentment ties us to suffering, and why trusting the natural unfolding of justice allows us to let go of the need for revenge. Through this understanding, we will find a path to freedom, peace, and healing. Understanding karma, cause and effect. Karma, in its simplest form, means action. More specifically, it refers to intentional actions of body, speech, and mind. These actions create seeds that will ripen into corresponding results or experiences, just as planting a seed in fertile soil will eventually bear fruit. The intentions behind our actions set in motion consequences that manifest in various ways. Positive intentions and actions tend to lead to happiness and beneficial outcomes, while negative intentions and actions tend to lead to suffering and challenges. Karma is not a system of punishment or reward imposed from outside, but a natural law of ethical causality. Karma and the cycle of resentment. When we hold on to resentment, anger, or a desire for revenge, we are actively engaging in negative mental actions. These feelings and intentions plant seeds of suffering. In our own minds, resentment acts like a poison that keeps us trapped in cycles of pain and frustration. It ties us to the past and prevents us from experiencing peace in the present. Holding grudges also affects our behavior and relationships, often causing further conflict and harm. Through the lens of karma, we see that continuing to harbor resentment perpetuates suffering, not just for others, but for ourselves. Letting go of resentment as a karma cleansing, choosing to let go of resentment is a powerful karmic purification. It stops the cycle of negative cause and effect by releasing harmful mental states. Forgiveness transforms the seeds of anger and bitterness into seeds of compassion and peace. This transformation has the potential to bring about healing, reconciliation, and positive outcomes in our lives. By consciously releasing resentment, we create space for growth and happiness, trusting the natural unfolding of justice. One of the hardest challenges in forgiveness is releasing the need for personal revenge or justice. We often feel that forgiveness requires excusing the wrong or allowing harm to go unpunished. However, understanding karma encourages us to trust the natural unfolding of justice. Karma operates impartially and inevitably. Actions produce consequences in due time beyond our control. By trusting this natural law, we free ourselves from the burden of needing to control outcomes. We recognize that justice will unfold in its own way, and our role is to cultivate wholesome intentions and actions. Reflection, the freedom of letting go. Reflect on moments in your life when you felt wronged or hurt. How did holding on to resentment affect your peace and well-being? Imagine releasing the need for revenge and trusting that justice will be served. Naturally, how might this shift change your experience of pain? Practical steps for letting go of resentment through karma awareness. Recognize your role. Acknowledge how your own thoughts and feelings contribute to your suffering. Cultivate mindfulness. Observe when resentment arises and note it without judgment. Practice forgiveness. Consciously choose to release anger and bitterness. Trust karma. Remind yourself that justice unfolds naturally beyond personal control. Engage in positive actions. Plant seeds of kindness and compassion to create positive outcomes. Seek healing. Use meditation and reflection to deepen understanding and peace. Guided meditation. Releasing resentment and trusting justice. Find a comfortable seat. Close your eyes and take deep, calming breaths. Bring to mind a situation where you feel resentment or anger. Notice how this resentment feels in your body and mind. Silently say, "I release this anger. I trust that justice unfolds naturally." Visualize letting go of the resentment like a heavy stone sinking into water. Imagine planting seeds of peace and kindness within yourself. Feel your heart opening and your mind calming. Breathe deeply and return your focus to the present moment. Open your eyes gently. The teaching of karma offers profound insight into the cycle of cause and effect that binds us to suffering. By understanding how resentment perpetuates this cycle, we find the courage to let go. Trusting the natural unfolding of justice frees us from the burden of revenge. Letting go of resentment is a powerful step toward forgiveness, peace, and liberation. May this understanding guide you on your path to healing. Forgiveness is not always an easy or straightforward journey. It often requires deep humility, patience, and inner work, not only toward others, but also toward ourselves. The story of Ananda, the Buddha's devoted attendant, offers profound lessons on forgiveness in its many forms. Through Ananda's struggles and growth, we learn about the challenges of forgiving, the grace of humility, and the importance of extending compassion inward as well as outward. Who was Ananda? Ananda was one of the Buddha's closest disciples, serving as his personal attendant for many years. Known for his incredible memory and devotion, Ananda played a vital role in preserving and transmitting the Buddha's teachings. Yet, despite his closeness to the enlightened teacher, Ananda was a human being with flaws, fears, and struggles, especially when it came to forgiveness. Ananda's struggle with forgiveness, one of the most telling stories about Ananda, involves his initial difficulty in forgiving himself during the final months of the Buddha's life. When the Buddha announced his impending passing, many disciples felt grief, fear, and uncertainty. Ananda, deeply devoted and loving, was overwhelmed by his own doubts and insecurities. He feared that he had failed in his duties, worried about the future of the community, and struggled with feelings of unworthiness. When challenged by other monks for certain oversights, Ananda felt hurt and defensive. His mind churned with self-criticism and regret. Lessons on humility and patience, but as imperfect and growing, it invites us to acknowledge our mistakes without harsh judgment or denial. Ananda's experience also highlights the necessity of patience. Forgiveness is often a gradual process that unfolds over time. Like Ananda, we may stumble, feel discouraged, or struggle to forgive even ourselves. Yet, with patience, we learn to soften and open the path to peace through forgiving ourselves. Forgiving ourselves is often the hardest part of forgiveness. We may hold on to guilt, shame, or regret, believing that we do not deserve compassion or peace. But Ananda's journey shows that self-forgiveness is essential for true healing. By extending kindness inward, we create the foundation to forgive others and embrace peace. Reflection: your relationship with self-forgiveness can store your own relationship with forgiveness. Do you find it easier to forgive others than yourself? What judgments or regrets do you hold inwardly? How might cultivating humility and patience help you open to self-forgiveness? Guided reflection: cultivating forgiveness for yourself. Sit comfortably and close your eyes if you wish. Take a few deep breaths, allowing your body to relax. Bring to mind a situation where you feel self-judgment or regret. Notice the feelings that arise without pushing them away. Silently say, "I forgive myself. I release my regrets. I am worthy of peace." Imagine embracing yourself with kindness and understanding. Feel your heart soften and your mind calm. Breathe deeply and gently return to the present moment. Open your eyes when ready. Applying Ananda's lessons in daily life, Ananda's story encourages us to approach forgiveness with honesty, humility, and patience. We learn to accept our imperfections as part of our human experience. By forgiving ourselves, we free our hearts to forgive others more fully. This compassionate cycle nurtures healing and peace within relationships and communities. The story of Ananda's forgiveness offers timeless wisdom on the complexities of forgiveness. It teaches us that humility and patience are vital companions on this path. Forgiving ourselves is as important as forgiving others. May Ananda's example inspire you to embrace forgiveness with gentle courage and open heart. Forgiveness is a deeply personal and sometimes challenging journey. While meditation and mindfulness are powerful tools, many find that writing, journaling can offer a unique and effective path to understanding, processing, and ultimately releasing the emotional burdens tied to hurt and resentment. In this segment, we will explore the practice of forgiveness through journaling, a method that nurtures self-awareness, allows the expression of complex emotions, and helps us let go of the emotional charge that can keep us trapped in cycles of pain. Through guided instructions and reflections, you will be invited to use journaling as a compassionate companion on your journey toward forgiveness. Why journaling supports forgiveness. Journaling serves as a private, safe space where we can pour out our thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. Writing helps to clarify emotions that may feel tangled or overwhelming when held only in the mind. By putting words to our experiences of hurt, betrayal, or anger, we externalize these feelings, making them more manageable. Moreover, journaling creates self-awareness, the foundation for healing. As we write, patterns emerge, insights arise, and the emotional charge attached to pain begins to diminish. In the context of forgiveness, journaling allows us to confront and express difficult emotions honestly before choosing to release them. Preparing for your journaling practice. Before beginning, find a quiet, comfortable space where you feel safe and relaxed. Gather your journaling materials, whether a dedicated notebook, loose paper, or digital device. Set an intention for your practice. This might be to understand your feelings, to cultivate forgiveness, or to release pain. Remember, journaling is a personal process. There is no right or wrong way to do it. Allow yourself freedom to express whatever arises. Guided journaling instructions for forgiveness. Step 1. Begin with your feelings. Start by writing about the feelings of hurt or anger you are holding. Describe the situation or person involved. Be as detailed as you feel comfortable. Use language that expresses your authentic emotions: frustration, sadness, betrayal, confusion. Example prompts: I feel hurt because ... When this happened, I felt what bothers me most is ... Let your words flow without censorship. Step 2. Explore the impact. Reflect on how these feelings affect you, your body, mind, relationships. Write about the physical sensations: tightness, heaviness, tension. Describe mental effects: rumination, sleeplessness, distraction. Consider emotional consequences: sadness, loneliness, bitterness. Example prompts: holding on to this pain makes me feel ... This resentment affects my ... When I think about forgiving, I feel ... Step 3. Identify your barriers to forgiveness. Write about what makes forgiveness difficult for you. Is it fear of being hurt again? Loss of trust? Feeling that justice was not served? Acknowledge these barriers honestly, without self-judgment. Example prompts: I struggle to forgive because I worry that forgiving means ... What scares me about forgiveness is ... Step 4. Reflect on the possibility of forgiveness. Begin to explore what forgiveness might mean for you. Imagine how your life might change if you released resentment. Write about the benefits of forgiveness for your own peace and well-being. Example prompts. If I forgive, I might feel ... Forgiveness could help me ... I am willing to try forgiving because ... Step 5. Write a forgiveness letter. Optional. Consider writing a letter to the person who hurt you, not necessarily to send, but to express your feelings and intentions. Begin by acknowledging the hurt, then express your decision to forgive if you feel ready. End with wishes for peace for yourself and for them. Example, dear name, I want to tell you how your actions affected me. I am choosing to forgive you because I wish you peace and happiness. Step 6. Close with self-compassion. Your journaling session by writing words of kindness to yourself. Acknowledge your courage in facing difficult emotions. Offer yourself compassion and encouragement. Example prompts. I am doing my best. It's okay to take time ... I deserve peace and healing ... The power of self-awareness through writing journaling reveals hidden layers of our emotional experience. It helps us uncover patterns, perhaps recurring themes of hurt or blame that keep us stuck. This awareness empowers us to consciously choose forgiveness instead of reacting unconsciously. Writing also creates distance between ourselves and our pain, making it less overwhelming, releasing emotional charge by what intensifies resentment is suppression, holding feelings inside without expression. Journaling allows safe release. It is like emptying a heavy backpack, lightening our load. This expression helps reduce the intensity of emotions, making forgiveness more accessible. Encouragement to express and then let go after writing. It is important to practice letting go. You might symbolically release your writings, closing the journal, tearing up the paper, or setting an intention to release. This act supports the mental process of forgiveness, expressing emotions fully, then consciously choosing freedom from them. Integrating journaling into your forgiveness journey. Set aside regular time for journaling daily or weekly. Use prompts or free writing depending on your needs. Combine journaling with meditation or other self-care practices. Share your reflections with a trusted friend or counselor if desired. Reflection. Your personal forgiveness journal. Consider starting your own forgiveness journal. What feelings and thoughts would you begin with? How might expressing these on paper support your healing? What intentions do you want to set for your forgiveness journey? Closing guided journaling meditation. Sit quietly and take several deep breaths. Visualize yourself writing your feelings and releasing them. Imagine your heart growing lighter with each word. Silently say, I express my pain. I release my resentment. I open to peace. Breathe deeply and slowly return to the present moment. Journaling is a powerful tool for forgiveness, a practice that nurtures self-awareness, expression, and release. By writing honestly and compassionately, we create a path to healing our hearts and minds. May this practice support you in your journey toward forgiveness and peace. Forgiveness is often described as a gift we give ourselves, yet its power extends far beyond our own hearts. It has the capacity to transform relationships, communities, and even entire societies. The story of the woman who returned forgiveness to her enemy illustrates this profound truth. Through her courage to forgive, she not only changed her own life, but also set in motion a ripple effect of healing and transformation. The story of the woman and her enemies. In a small village, there lived a woman whose life was deeply scarred by betrayal. A close friend, whom she trusted implicitly, had wronged her in a way that shattered her heart and reputation. The betrayal spread quickly through the village, isolating the woman and filling her days with bitterness and anger. At first, she held tightly to her resentment. She ruminated on the betrayal, letting it poison her thoughts and emotions. Her relationships grew strained, her health declined, and joy seemed to slip further away. One day, after much suffering, the woman encountered an elderly sage who spoke gently about the power of forgiveness as weakness, but as strength. Moved by the sage's words, the woman made a courageous decision. She would forgive her enemy, returning forgiveness. An act of courage. Forgiving someone who has caused deep hurt is not easy. It requires vulnerability, strength, and a willingness to release control. The woman's forgiveness was a radical act of courage. She chose to break free from the chains of bitterness, not because the betrayal was excusable, but because she valued her own peace and healing more than holding on to anger. In returning forgiveness, she acknowledged the humanity of her enemy, recognizing that all beings are flawed and capable of mistakes. This act was not about forgetting or denying the harm, but about releasing the grip that the hurt had on her heart. The ripple effect of forgiveness. The woman's forgiveness did not only change her own life, it created a ripple effect that spread through her community. Her changed attitude softened relationships. Others who had been hurt or angry began to see the possibility of healing. The enemy, touched by the woman's grace, experienced remorse and sought to make amends through forgiveness. The woman transformed a cycle of pain into a circle of healing and connection. Forgiveness as empowerment. This story highlights forgiveness as a source of personal empowerment. Forgiving does not mean surrendering or becoming a victim. Rather, it means reclaiming control over your own emotional well-being by choosing forgiveness. The woman took charge of her narrative. She refused to be defined by the betrayal and instead embraced peace and strength. Forgiveness frees us from being prisoners of past hurts and opens the way to a fuller, freer life. Reflection. Your own power to forgive. Reflect on moments when forgiveness felt difficult or impossible. Consider how forgiveness might empower you to reclaim your peace and agency. Imagine the ripple effects your forgiveness could have in your relationships, family, and community. Guided reflection. Embracing forgiveness as strength. Find a comfortable seat and close your eyes if you wish. Take several deep breaths to settle your mind. Bring to mind someone you find hard to forgive. Acknowledge the pain and anger you feel without judgment. Silently say to yourself, I choose forgiveness. I reclaim my peace. I am empowered. Visualize releasing your resentment like a heavy weight lifted. Feel a sense of strength and freedom filling your heart. Breathe deeply and slowly return your awareness to the present. Open your eyes gently when ready. Applying this teaching in your life, remember that forgiveness is a choice you make for yourself. Recognize forgiveness as an act of empowerment, not weakness. Trust that your forgiveness can inspire healing beyond yourself. Be patient and gentle with your own process. The story of the woman who returned forgiveness to her enemy teaches us that forgiveness transforms pain into power. It creates ripples that heal hearts and communities. May you find courage to forgive, strength to release, and peace to flourish. The journey toward forgiveness and emotional healing often feels like navigating between two extremes. On one side lies the overwhelming storm of anger, resentment, and bitterness. On the other, the cold denial, suppression, or avoidance of pain. The Buddha's teaching of the middle way offers a profound path that guides us beyond these extremes toward emotional balance, peace, and ultimately forgiveness. In this segment, we will explore the middle way as a principle of harmony and balance. In our emotional lives, we will examine how cultivating emotional equilibrium supports forgiveness and healing. Finally, you will be invited to a guided reflection that encourages a balanced, mindful response to challenging emotions. The middle way, a path beyond extremes. The Buddha introduced the middle way early in his teachings as a path that avoids the extremes of self-indulgence and severe asceticism. But this wisdom applies not only to lifestyle choices, but also to our mental and emotional experience. When it comes to our feelings, especially difficult ones like anger, grief, or resentment, the middle way encourages us to neither suppress nor exaggerate them. On one extreme, anger might be allowed to dominate, leading to destructive behaviors, bitterness, and suffering. On the other extreme, denial or repression of anger can cause emotional numbness or delayed trauma. The middle way invites us to acknowledge emotions honestly without being overwhelmed or disconnected. Emotional balance as foundation for forgiveness. Forgiveness requires emotional balance because it calls for clear, compassionate understanding rather than reactive passion. When we are balanced, we can recognize and feel hurt without being consumed by it, hold space for our pain without allowing it to harden into resentment, respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. This balance nurtures an open heart, capable of forgiving without losing self-respect or ignoring boundaries. The cycle of imbalance and suffering. Imbalanced emotional responses, either extreme anger or avoidance. Suffering perpetuates suffering. For example, unchecked anger fuels grudges and isolation, deepening pain. Conversely, repression or denial prevents healing by burying emotions, which later manifest as stress or illness. The Buddha's middle way teaches us to meet emotions with awareness, neither clinging nor pushing away, cultivating emotional balance, mindfulness, and compassion. Mindfulness is the tool that allows us to observe emotions as they arise, providing a moment of pause. Compassion, both for ourselves and others, softens harsh judgments and fosters acceptance. Together, mindfulness and compassion create the conditions for emotional balance. We become witnesses to our feelings, understanding their impermanent nature without identifying with them. Guided reflection. Practicing balanced response. Let's engage in a guided reflection to cultivate emotional balance. Find a comfortable seat and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths, settling into your body. Bring to mind a recent situation where you felt strong emotions, perhaps anger or hurt. Notice these emotions without judgment. Observe their quality, intensity, and location in your body. Imagine holding these feelings gently in your awareness, like cradling a fragile object. Silently say, "I acknowledge these feelings. I allow them to be without being overwhelmed. Visualize a scale balancing evenly, your emotions balanced, neither tipping into excess nor denial. Feel a sense of calm and clarity emerging. Take a few more deep breaths. Then slowly open your eyes, applying the middle way in daily life. When emotions arise, pause and observe rather than react immediately. Allow yourself to feel fully without judgment or avoidance. Seek balance between expressing and containing emotions. Remember that forgiveness grows from a balanced, open heart. Reflection, the gift of emotional equanimity. Consider how embracing the middle way could change your experience of difficult emotions. How might emotional balance support your ability to forgive and heal? Reflect on moments when you swung to extremes and how it affected your well-being. The Buddha's middle way offers a timeless path to emotional balance, guiding us beyond extremes of anger and denial. This balance is essential for forgiveness, allowing us to meet pain with clarity, compassion, and courage. May this teaching inspire you to cultivate emotional equanimity and embrace forgiveness as a path to peace. Forgiveness is often seen as a deeply personal journey, one that transforms hearts and heals relationships on an individual level. But forgiveness can also resonate on a much larger scale, influencing communities, societies, and even entire nations. The story of King Ashoka, one of India's greatest emperors, exemplifies how forgiveness and compassion can transform leadership and bring about profound social change. In this segment, we will explore the remarkable transformation of King Ashoka from a fierce conqueror to a compassionate ruler who embraced forgiveness. His story offers powerful lessons on forgiveness at a societal level and the role of compassionate leadership in fostering peace and unity. The early life of King Ashoka, a conqueror's path. Ashoka was born into the Maurya dynasty around the 3rd century BCE, destined to become one of India's most powerful rulers. His early reign was marked by military ambition and conquest. He expanded his empire through relentless warfare, often with brutal consequences. One of his most infamous campaigns was the Kalinga War, a violent conflict that resulted in massive destruction and loss of life. The bloodshed and suffering witnessed during this war had a profound impact on Ashoka's heart and mind. The turning point, awakening to compassion. The Kalinga War was a turning point in Ashoka's life. Confronted by the scale of suffering his actions had caused, Ashoka experienced deep remorse and reflection. This moment of awakening led him to embrace the teachings of Buddhism, which emphasized compassion, non-violence, and forgiveness. Transformation was profound. He renounced further military conquest and committed himself to ruling with kindness and justice. Forgiveness at a societal level. Ashoka's embrace of forgiveness extended beyond personal remorse. He sought to create a society based on peace, tolerance, and mutual respect. He enacted policies that promoted religious harmony, social welfare, and ethical governance. Ashoka's reign became a living example of how forgiveness can be a foundation for societal healing and cohesion. His edicts, inscribed on pillars and rocks throughout the empire, urged people to practice compassion and forgiveness in daily life. Lessons on leadership through compassion. King Ashoka's story teaches us that true leadership requires more than power or control. It demands compassion, humility, and the courage to forgive. Forgiving past wrongs, including those committed by others and by oneself, is essential for leaders who seek to unify and heal divided communities. Ashoka demonstrated that forgiveness strengthens leadership by fostering trust, respect, and shared purpose. Reflection. Forgiveness in your sphere of influence. Reflect on areas of your life where you hold influence: family, workplace, community. How might practicing forgiveness at a broader level impact those around you? Consider ways you can embody compassionate leadership in everyday interactions. Guided reflection. Cultivating leadership through forgiveness. Find a quiet space and sit comfortably. Close your eyes and take several deep breaths. Bring to mind a situation where you have influence or responsibility. Imagine approaching it with forgiveness and compassion. Silently say, "May I lead with kindness. May I forgive and inspire peace." Feel a sense of strength and calm growing within you. Take a few more deep breaths. When ready, open your eyes gently. Applying King Ashoka's lessons today, embrace forgiveness as a tool for healing and unity. Lead by example, showing compassion in words and actions. Encourage forgiveness and understanding within your community. Recognize that leadership rooted in forgiveness creates lasting peace. The story of King Ashoka reveals the transformative power of forgiveness, not only for individuals but for entire societies. His legacy reminds us that leadership grounded in compassion and forgiveness can inspire peace and foster lasting change. May Ashoka's example guide you to embrace forgiveness as a source of strength in your own life and leadership. Forgiveness is often framed as something we do for others, releasing resentment toward those who have hurt us. But a fundamental and sometimes overlooked aspect of forgiveness is self-compassion, the ability to be kind and understanding toward ourselves is not only healing, but also essential for genuinely forgiving others. In this segment, we will explore the vital role self-compassion plays in the forgiveness process. Examine teachings on kindness, both inward and outward, and guide you through a transformative self-compassion meditation practice. Understanding self-compassion. The foundation for forgiveness. Self-compassion means treating ourselves with the same kindness, care, and understanding that we would offer a dear friend. It involves recognizing our shared humanity, that all people suffer, make mistakes, and face challenges. When we fail to practice self-compassion, we may harshly judge ourselves for perceived flaws or failures. This self-criticism often blocks forgiveness by fueling shame, guilt, and unworthiness. Without self-compassion, it can be difficult to extend genuine forgiveness to others. Our unforgiving attitude toward ourselves tends to mirror our unforgiving attitude toward those who have wronged us. The connection between self-compassion and forgiving others. To forgive others deeply, we must first forgive ourselves. This means accepting our imperfections, mistakes, and vulnerabilities without harsh judgment. Self-compassion creates a compassionate mindset that naturally extends outward. When we hold ourselves gently, we become more capable of holding others gently, even those who have hurt us. Compassion for ourselves softens resentment and opens space for empathy, understanding, and forgiveness. Teaching on kindness, inward and outward. The Buddha's teachings emphasize metta, or loving kindness, which begins with oneself and radiates outward. True kindness starts inward. When we cultivate warmth and acceptance toward ourselves, we build a strong foundation for kindness toward others, just as a lamp cannot light another without its own flame. Our capacity to forgive others grows from the light of self-compassion outward. Kindness without inward compassion can lead to burnout or resentment. Balanced kindness nurtures both self and others harmoniously. Self-compassion. Meditation practice. Let's now engage in a guided self-compassion meditation designed to cultivate kindness toward yourself, supporting your forgiveness journey. Step 1. Find a comfortable position. Sit or lie down comfortably in a quiet space. Close your eyes if you wish. Take several deep breaths, allowing your body to relax. Step 2. Connect with your heart. Bring your attention to your heart area. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your breath in this space. Imagine warmth or a soft light radiating from your heart. Step 3. Acknowledge your suffering silently or aloud. Say to yourself, I know that I am struggling. I know that I suffer. Allow yourself to feel the truth of these words without judgment. Step 4. Offer yourself kindness. Place one or both hands gently over your heart if it feels comfortable. Repeat silently, may I be kind to myself. May I give myself the compassion I need. Feel warmth and kindness flowing inward. Step 5. Embrace your humanity. Remind yourself, I am not alone. All beings struggle and suffer. Recognize your shared humanity and imperfections. Step 6. Reflect on forgiveness. Say silently, may I forgive myself. May I open my heart to forgiving others. Feel your heart soften and expand. Step 7. Rest in compassion. Take several deep breaths, resting in the feeling of self-compassion. Allow any resistance or difficult emotions to be held gently. Step 8. Close the meditation when ready. Slowly bring your awareness back to the present moment. Open your eyes gently. Integrating self-compassion into daily life. Begin your day with self-compassion affirmations. When self-criticism arises, pause and respond with kindness. Use self-compassion as a buffer before engaging in difficult forgiveness work. Journal about moments when you showed yourself kindness. Remind yourself that self-compassion strengthens your ability to forgive others. Reflection. How does self-compassion support your forgiveness? Consider moments when being kind to yourself helped you extend kindness to others. Reflect on how self-compassion can soften resentment and open space for healing. Imagine approaching yourself and others with gentle acceptance. Closing thoughts. Compassion for oneself is not indulgence or weakness. It is a courageous and essential step toward forgiveness. By cultivating self-compassion, you build the foundation for a forgiving heart. May this practice nurture your peace and strengthen your path toward forgiveness. The journey of forgiveness often finds its most poignant expression in the context of family. Family relationships, with their deep bonds and complex histories, can be a source of profound joy and, at times, deep pain. The story of the lost child and the returning father, a timeless parable of reconciliation, reminds us of the power of unconditional love and the possibility of healing even the most broken connections. In this segment, we will explore this parable, uncover lessons about forgiveness, unconditional love, and the healing of fractured family ties. Through reflection, you will be invited to consider your own relationships and the potential for restoration and peace. the parable of the lost child and the returning father. Once upon a time, in a humble village, there was a father and his young child. The child was full of life and curiosity, but was also prone to restlessness and longing for freedom. One day, the child decided to leave home, seeking adventure and independence. The father, heartbroken but understanding, let the child go, wishing for their happiness. Years passed. The child faced many hardships, lost, lonely, and longing for home, but unsure if forgiveness or acceptance awaited. Finally, one day, the child decided to return. As the child approached the village, doubts and fears overwhelmed the heart. Would the father forgive? Would love remain? To the child's surprise, the father ran to meet them with open arms, welcoming them without hesitation or judgment. Lessons on unconditional love. This story illustrates the essence of unconditional love that persists beyond mistakes, distance, or pain. Unconditional love does not depend on conditions such as perfection, apology, or time. It is a constant, forgiving presence. The Father's love in the parable symbolizes the ideal of forgiveness that embraces fully and restores trust. This love creates the foundation for healing broken bonds and rebuilding relationships, reconciliation, and forgiveness in family relationships often carry deep emotional histories, hurtful words, unmet expectations, or separations. Reconciliation requires courage to face the past and openness to repair. Forgiveness is a critical step, releasing resentment and opening the heart to renewed connection, just as the father in the story did not wait for his child to prove worthiness. Families can find strength in extending grace first. Reflection, healing your own family connections. Take a moment to reflect on your family relationships. Are there wounds that need healing, distance, or misunderstandings? How might unconditional love and forgiveness transform these bonds? What fears or hopes arise as you consider reconciliation? Guided reflection, opening to healing and reconnection. Find a comfortable place and close your eyes if you wish. Take several deep breaths to settle. Visualize the face of a family member with whom you seek healing. Imagine approaching them with an open heart. Silently say, I release resentment. I open to love. I welcome healing. Feel warmth and compassion flowing between you. Breathe deeply, holding this intention. When ready, gently return your attention to the present. Open your eyes softly, applying the parable's teaching in daily life. Practice patience and openness in family relationships. Initiate conversations with humility and kindness. Offer forgiveness as a gift, even when it is not immediately reciprocated. Cultivate unconditional love in your daily actions and thoughts. The story of the lost child and the returning father teaches us the transformative power of forgiveness and unconditional love. It invites us to believe in the possibility of healing broken family connections and to take courageous steps toward reconciliation. May this parable inspire you to open your heart and embrace the healing power of forgiveness within your family. As we come to the final segment of this series on forgiveness, it is natural to reflect on the journey we've taken together, the stories, teachings, and practices we've explored. Forgiveness is not a destination, but a lifelong path, an ongoing practice of patience, kindness, and liberation. This conclusion invites you to integrate the key lessons shared. Embrace forgiveness as a continuous process and move forward with a heart open to healing. Recap of key lessons throughout this series. Nature of forgiveness. Here are some of the key insights that form the foundation of this path. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is ultimately a gift you give yourself. It is not about excusing wrongdoing or forgetting harm, but about releasing the emotional burdens that weigh heavily on your heart. Compassion is central. Both compassion for others and self-compassion are essential. Recognizing the shared human experience of suffering allows kindness to arise naturally and sustains the journey. Forgiveness does not mean approval. Forgiveness does not require condoning harmful actions. It means releasing personal anger and resentment without enabling further harm. The power of mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us observe emotions without attachment, providing space for forgiveness to grow by reducing reactive patterns. Self-forgiveness is vital. Forgiving ourselves for mistakes and limitations opens the heart and enhances our ability to forgive others. Forgiveness is courageous and active. It takes strength and vulnerability to forgive, especially when harm is deep. Forgiveness is a deliberate choice and an active practice. Balanced forgiveness thrives when we navigate between extremes of anger and denial, embracing emotional balance. Forgiveness transforms relationships and communities. Healing at the individual level ripples outward, fostering reconciliation and peace in families, communities, and societies. Forgiveness is liberating. Letting go of resentment frees the mind and heart, allowing us to live with greater peace and joy. Integrating forgiveness into daily life. Forgiveness is not a one-time event, but a practice woven into the fabric of everyday living. Here are practical ways to continue walking this path. Start small. Begin with forgiving minor grievances and misunderstandings. This builds your capacity and confidence. Use breath and mindfulness. Return to your breath whenever anger or resentment arises. Observe your emotions with curiosity and kindness. Practice loving kindness, meditation. Regularly cultivate goodwill toward yourself and others, including those you find difficult. Journal your feelings. Writing helps clarify emotions and release the charge that binds you. Seek support when needed. Forgiveness can be challenging. Consider guidance from trusted friends, mentors, or therapists. Set boundaries compassionately. Forgiveness does not mean tolerating harm. Protect your well-being with healthy boundaries. Reflect on stories and teachings. Revisit stories like those of Milarepa, King Ashoka, or the lost child and returning father for inspiration, patience, and kindness. Essential companions on the journey. Forgiveness unfolds over time. It requires patience with yourself and others. You may find yourself revisiting old wounds or encountering new challenges. Treat these moments with kindness, recognizing that growth is non-linear. Be gentle with your heart as it opens and softens. Celebrate small steps and progress, no matter how subtle. Forgiveness as an ongoing practice. Forgiveness is an ongoing practice, like tending a garden. Some days, forgiveness blossoms with ease. On others, weeds of anger may sprout. Returning to practice renews your commitment and strengthens your heart. Remember, it is okay to struggle. Each return to forgiveness is a victory. Embracing liberation through forgiveness at its deepest level. Forgiveness is a path to liberation, freedom from suffering caused by attachment to pain and resentment. It frees you to live more fully, with openness, joy, and peace. Through forgiveness, you reclaim your power and agency. You step into a life that is lighter, more connected, and more loving. Closing guided reflection. Walking forward with forgiveness, find a comfortable, quiet space. Close your eyes if you wish. Take several deep breaths, allowing your body to relax. Reflect on your forgiveness journey, past lessons, current challenges, and hopes for the future. Silently say to yourself, I am committed to the path of forgiveness. I meet my heart with patience and kindness. I choose liberation and peace. Visualize yourself walking forward on a path bathed in light, carrying the strength and wisdom gained. Feel your heart open, ready to forgive and to receive forgiveness. Breathe deeply and slowly return your attention to the present moment. Open your eyes gently. Final words of encouragement. Forgiveness is one of the greatest gifts you can offer yourself and the world. As you continue on this path, remember that every act of forgiveness, no matter how small, contributes to your healing and to the healing of all. Be patient, be kind, be courageous. May forgiveness guide you to freedom, peace, and love.